Today I'd like to talk about some of the mistakes I've made with brushes and what I've learned about them the hard way. I'll be painting Judge Fear from the Dark Judges expansion to Judge Dread Helter Skelter in the background to add some visual interest. If you're interested in any of the brushes I talk about or the paint I use while painting Judge Fear, I'll include some links in the description below. If you buy anything using the Amazon links, I'll get a small commission and it won't cost you any more. Any other links are just there to help you find stuff that isn't on Amazon, but I don't get anything from them. As always, I'm not sponsored, so all of the products I use and discuss are purchased with real money and they reflect my own personal opinions. And also, please don't forget to like if you like it, share if you think someone else would like it, and subscribe if you want to hear more from me.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
The first brushes I bought last August were various brushes from the Army Painter. As a complete noob, I didn't have any idea of how to look after the brushes, so they didn't do very well. And didn't last long before I pretty much completely trashed them. As I progressed, I learned about only filling the brush to about the halfway point in order to avoid getting paint into the ferrule, the metal bit which connects the hairy part to the handle. Part of the ferrule's job is to keep the brush's shape, so if you muck it up, the bristles spread out and you lose that incredibly important point, the one which allows you to accurately paint your mini's tiny details. I also picked up a cheap set of Montmartre detail brushes at a local art store, and these did the job. I'm still using one of these for applying PVA glue to my bases. I then learned how to clean the brushes from various YouTube videos and bought some brush soap to take better care of them. However, in many cases the damage was already done. I also found that synthetic brushes were getting quite the curl on them, where the tip slowly curls over, which again makes it harder to paint precisely. I've seen videos where you can soak them in hot water to reduce the curl, but the presenters have consistently been way less than enthusiastic about the results, so I haven't even bothered with that fix. I looked around YouTube for recommendations for good brushes, and one of the standout suggestions were Winsor & Newton Series 7 Kolinsky Sable brushes. So I bought a number 1 size Winsor & Newton from Amazon, and it arrived the next day. Cost a bomb, but it was pretty much the perfect brush. Beautiful shape, fantastic control, incredible point, everything you could ask for in a brush. I then bought a number 0 and a 00 Winsor & Newton brushes from Amazon, and I had the perfect, highly recommended brush set. 3 weeks later they looked like a toothbrush. I realised at this point that I couldn't afford to spend about US $80 for a brush set that would only last me 3 weeks. As a side note, I tried cleaning these brushes thoroughly in an attempt to restore the point, and I was successful with the number 1 after I left the soap on it overnight. It doesn't look anywhere near as good as it did when I first got it, but hopefully it will do for detail work. The alternative I came up with was the Golden Maple Artist Brush Set. This was about US $25, and while nowhere near as pretty as the Winsor & Newton brushes, they were still Kolinsky Sable, and they seemed fine. Problem was they also lasted for less than a month. I ordered another box and resigned myself to the fact that it was going to cost me this much per month for good brushes. I also picked up a pack of Golden Maple synthetic brushes while I was at it, which were pretty similar to the Montmartre set I'd already purchased. It was then that I finally found out why all my brushes were mangled. You are not supposed to use Kolinsky Sable brushes, or any other natural fibre brush for that matter, with speed paint. While they worked just fine with standard acrylic paints, the chemicals used in speed paint were simply too harsh for them. Given that the majority of my time was spent using speed paint, I'd been using the wrong tools for the job. Now I needed to work out which synthetic brushes would be my best choice. I decided on Vallejo, as they had a good reputation and weren't too expensive. I got a number 0, a number 1 and a number 2 precision brushes, and they seemed pretty good. They still only lasted about a month, but they were only about $20. When I noticed how ragged these were looking, I found the Vallejo design set on Amazon for about US $13 and ordered a couple of packets. They come with a number 0, a number 1 and a number 2, which is ideal for my purposes. Then the Army Painter announced their new brush range with bionic bristles, and I thought, if they live up to the hype, they'll be almost as good as a Sable brush, but tough enough to handle speed paint without committing suicide. Let's give them a try. So I ordered a speed paint brush, a number 3, a layering brush, a number 1, and a detail brush, a 00, from Frontline Hobbies, my friendly local game store, and kept using the Vallejo brushes while I waited for them to come in. They arrived before Christmas, and while they are very good, they're already starting to lose their points. They've lasted a bit longer than normal because I've been on holidays and then got sick, so I didn't do a lot of painting in January. At about US $10 or more each, I just can't afford to keep up with them, so it's back to the Vallejo brush sets, once per month for the moment. One thing I will add is that while the point on the bionic brushes has spread, I've noticed a lot less curl than with previous synthetic brushes. So why am I still burning through brushes? The answer is actually quite simple. It's because I abuse the hell out of them. First, speed paint is specifically designed to flow, and it will wick up the brush and into the ferrule as it does so. I also don't clean my brushes often enough. This should be easy to fix, but what can I say? I'm a lazy bugger. Another problem is that I tend to get carried away, especially with speed paints, and overfill the brush. Instead of only filling it up about halfway, I often fill it to about 2/3 the way up the brush. Combined, these factors make it much more likely that I'll end up clogging up the ferrule. Even if I could remember to clean the brush more often and stop overfilling it, the wicking would still present a problem. So we have two factors I can control and one which I cannot. How can I at least eliminate the two problems I do have control over? Number 1, clean the brushes, at least once a week. That'd be good. Number 2, don't overfill the brush. I need to focus on what I'm doing when I'm getting paint from my palette, and at least try to increase the distance the speed paint has to wick before it reaches the ferrule. I'll give both of these a try, and I'll get back to you later and let you know if it helped or not. In the meantime, while I've been talking about brushes, I've been painting Judge Fear in the background. While I try to emulate the box art as much as possible, I do take some artistic license with the exact colours I choose. I'm trying to capture the feel of the figure, not stick slavishly to the existing art's colour scheme. This goes especially for black areas. I find that painting an area black on a Mini makes it lose too much contrast and detail, so I tend to prefer a very dark blue, even if the inspirational art is black. Of course, there are exceptions. Always remember that we're going for something which will look good on the tabletop. So where the original art conflicts with that goal, I'll always go for the most dynamic Mini I can. I'll also note that when I use metallics, regardless of whether they're from the Speed Paint or the War Paints Fanatic range, I almost always add a wash of some kind later in order to deepen the shadows in the recesses and add more contrast. The metallic on its own always seems a little bit bland to me. I've been listing the army painters I used as I went along, and this will give you an idea of what my choices were. As with everything else, of course, you be you. This is, as always, how I do things, not how everyone else should do things. Okay, Hopefully I've passed on some useful info this week. If my brush mistakes can help you to not spend large amounts of money on the wrong tools, then that would be great. Don't hesitate to leave comments below, especially if you have ideas which can help me and others preserve their brushes. I'm also keen to hear what other people would like me to talk about, so please let me know if you have any suggestions. I'm considering a series about Mantic's Halo Flashpoint game, both painting and playing it. So if you're interested in that, let me know. In the meantime, keep working through those piles of potential, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe below. I'll be back soon with a video on how I paint flames, especially when confronted with the prospect of making Judge Fire look as cool as I possibly can. Catch you next time.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.